Well, how about we do a little bit of an intro first, just
Mhm.
in case, people haven't heard of you yet. I mean, I highly doubt that. I mean, I think
Oh,
everyone
well,
in the world knows you. But just in case I have some followers or people who are joining us from anywhere else in the world, do you want to tell us a little bit
sure.
about yourself?
Well, my name is Kestrel Montes, and I live in Northern California. I'm in the wine country, about an hour north of San Francisco in Santa Rosa. And I own the business InkMeThis with my husband, Francisco, and he makes handmade calligraphy pens. I do calligraphy and engraving, and I make custom stamps and other um,
Everything,
digital
essentially.
products. I have fonts, actual computer installable fonts. And anyway, the list goes on, right?
Book.
I have a book out on calligraphy. Mostly what I will say about the book is that if you're trying to get started with pointed pen, it gives a lot of information in the beginning about just how to use the tools and tips and tricks for getting the darn thing to write. You can't just stick a nib in and go for it. There's some
Yeah.
things to know to be successful, and so that it's not super frustrating. So if you're looking to start, I try to include all of those things in the first chapter.
Yeah.
Then there's pages and pages of practice, but
Yeah,
anyway.
absolutely. Cool, cool. And then I know you answered this on your Instagram, like a really long answer before, but you want to share a little bit of how you got started?
Oh, okay. Um, I'll try to condense it. So my husband and I also own a laser engraving business that we started in 2013. That has a whole long story as to how that business got started. But after doing that business for a year or two, we started making custom stamps with the laser engravers, laser engraved rubber
Right.
stamps. And and the stamps really became their own life. They were so popular, and I had so many designs listed that at one point it just seemed logical to break them off into their own business. So that became InkMeThis. It actually started with stamp making. And through the stamp making, I loved font combinations and layouts. And so I wanted to learn how to make my own fonts, like digital fonts, OTF files. And through making fonts, I wanted to learn how to do calligraphy so that I could then make my own handwritten calligraphy fonts. So
Right.
that was my motivation.
I
Some
think it's the
people,
other way around versus calligraphy
no,
and then you make a font.
right. So I first taught myself to make digital fonts, and I made a couple of digital fonts first, and then I wanted to make handwritten calligraphy digital fonts. So then, yeah, so it went in that order. I think a lot of people are motivated to learn calligraphy either just simply because they want a hobby and they aesthetically are drawn to calligraphy, or there's some event coming up, their son is getting married, or their
They're getting
sister, or they are getting married, and they want to learn how to do it to be more personally involved. But that was our path. And then in terms of the pen making, so I was having trouble finding a pen that I found really comfortable for me to use. And Francisco was observing me Google searching, trying to find a pen holder that I wanted. And when you're buying something online, there's this level of risk. You can't
yeah.
touch it, hold it, see it first. And he says, "I'll make you one." And I'm like, what are you talking about? But he has have a whole workshop with all tools and stuff. So
You need to
he
get a tour on this.
oh it's not like a glamorous workshop, it's
It's
an
okay.
actual workshop. um And so he started making pens for me, and then people started seeing me using them and asking, well, where did you get that? And then that went from there.
Cool.
So everything has kind of grown organically and out of just some of it personal desire, and some of it seeing a need and filling the need. Usually it starts with seeing a need of my own, something
Right.
that I'm looking for and wanting to find. And if I'm having trouble finding it, and if I'm wanting it, I figure that other people must be also. So that's how the stir came up. That's how I started marketing the stir, and then the engraver and how I designed the envelope ruler and other things like that, where I knew that I was looking for something particular for my own use. And the clear blotters are a perfect example of that as well. I was trying to find something to put on my light pad that would reduce that friction when writing, and yet not eliminate the transparency of the light pad use.
Right.
And couldn't find anything. And so started then searching, thinking, well, I'm going to figure out how to make something, and finally found the right material to use. And
That's
we
so
cut,
amazing.
and so we get it in big, huge sheets, and we cut it down to size. And then anyway, so everything starts from wanting something
It doesn't have
myself.
to be built.
Mm-hmm.
Talisa was just commenting and saying you guys are like relationship goals.
Oh, oh, it's really been an amazing experience working together. We people always say to us like, "Oh my God, I could never work with my husband like that." We just somehow work really well together. We're in the shop together all day long. I think that what's happened for us is we have very different strengths, and so we've naturally fallen into a division of labor where we don't overlap too much. And I think that that's where it would become difficult to work with a spouse, is if you're both trying to do the same aspects
Yeah.
of business. We never sat down and said, this is what you're going to do and this is what I'm going to do. Just because we're very different, have different interests, different focuses, different strengths, and then they overlap in what we're applying those strengths and interests to. It's created just a natural division of labor on its own. So we're together in the shop all day long, but we might not even be talking to each other very much, just here and there checking in about something, but we're really doing our own aspects. So it works.
Yeah, no, totally, clearly.
And now it feels really weird if we're ever not together. I mean, right now I'm in our dining room and he's out in the workshop, but if we're actually separated, it feels kind of weird. So
I can see that. I mean, my husband works from home as well, but he helps me in different capacities, and I understand that. And I think it's important too, because when you have like different skill sets and that you both are really good at, then you can trust each other on it. Versus like if it's something you're both exactly working on it together, it might be a bit more like, oh, your vision's a bit different or something.
right.
That's where a lot of friction, I would imagine, come from.
Right. And, it's the difference between two people trying to both cook in the same pot together versus one person making one dish and
Right.
somebody else making another dish that both come together as dinner.
Right. Right. No,
And step on
absolutely.
each other's toes.
Um, so tell us a little bit about IMPath. Like, I know it is not exactly about engraving, but I mean, like, I didn't know that until like maybe like a year ago, I think. So I'm like, how did you get involved in all of that?
I'm relatively new to the IMPath community as well. I learned, let's see, I don't remember how I first learned that IMPath existed. I think I stumbled across it at some point.
Probably of your journey. Probably.
So at some point I stumbled across it. I was
Yeah.
looking at the website, I knew that the website had resources,
Right.
because there are a ton of great resources
Out of
for
reach.
free on the website
Yeah.
that are open, visible to everybody. You don't have to be a member. And then, what I love about the whole calligraphy and community is that there's just been it is such a community,
It is.
and people are so cooperative. So my, I had an online relationship, friendship with Brian from Unique Obliques, and he had attended the IMPath conferences before as a vendor. And so he started encouraging me to go as a vendor. And I was like, wait, really? What? I don't know how that works. We don't sell in person ever, hardly. We always just sell online. Like, I don't know how to be a vendor at a event. That's not how our business model has ever been set up. But he kept encouraging, and that was really sweet. And I love that about this community, is that instead of viewing somebody as a direct competition, seeing, okay, we're both pen makers, we're both selling the same product, but understanding that they're different enough, and that there's something for everybody,
Yes.
and that we can all, we all fit. So I signed up to be a vendor at the Denver IMPath last year. Then Brian didn't end up being able to go for family reasons, so that was kind of a twist of fate. But we've stayed in touch. And then it turns out this current year, the current president lives just about a half an hour from me. So I don't remember I think that we started communicating directly because of our laser engraving. She does freehand engraving. She needed some help with a laser engraving project that got us communicating directly. And then we got to know each other better from there. So then I went to the Denver IMPath conference. It was amazing. It's one of those things that it's difficult to really wrap your head around how great it is until you go and you experience it for yourself. People can tell you, I can say right now how great it is, but you really also have to experience it. I hadn't gone the prior year because I think it was in Milwaukee, I want to say. And I was like, Milwaukee, why would I want to go to Milwaukee? But then, and harder for me to get to from San Francisco area. So then when it was in Denver, I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And then I never left the hotel room the entire week. I mean, the hotel.
Yeah.
An entire week, because there's so much going on. There's so many activities. You're with all your friends, you're with your people, and you don't want to miss anything. So I never even left the hotel, and I realized it really doesn't matter where this thing
Where it is. Yeah.
I will go every single year.
Every day.
I don't care where it is. I won't miss again. So this year it will be in Atlanta, Georgia, and which is a longer flight for us on the West Coast, but it'll be nice and easy for East Coast people. And I'm super excited, and I can't wait to go to be a vendor again.
Yeah. I mean, with everything happening right now, I hope everything still goes smoothly.
Yeah. And then last year at the Denver conference, I was asked to take over the IMPath Instagram page, and didn't actually start doing that until maybe September, I think. So that's my other involvement with IMPath, is just helping get the word out, helping more people learn that IMPath exists. I think we've been pretty successful. It's gone from about 3,000 followers in September to now eight something. So yeah, getting word out more. It's a fabulous organization. It's nonprofit. It's all run by volunteers, and and you should definitely check it out. And if you ever have a chance to go to a conference, jump on it and see for yourself that you will never want to miss again.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool. I've actually never gotten the chance to do it, but when I was getting started in calligraphy, it was one of the resources that was really helpful
Mhm.
for me because yes, these are all like master documents and they're
Yeah,
available.
there's videos, there's downloadable PDFs.
Exactly.
There are books and documents that have been digitized to share,
Yeah.
because the IMPath organization has an incredible archive of original documents and books.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing. Um, okay, now let's talking about hand engraving because that's kind of your
Okay.
thing right now. How did you get started in it?
A couple years ago, I got an engraver after my friend Nina, and started just messing around with it on my own, as most of this goes, right?
Yes,
Um,
everything has.
right, right. So that's how it started. It just seemed like another fun way to apply the whole lettering and calligraphy world to a new medium and others
Yeah,
and different surfaces.
absolutely. And what are your favorite tools right now for engraving?
Okay, that was a funny way of throwing me the bone right there.
Sorry. I was like going through my list of questions.
I know. Well, so as I did launch an engraver recently.
Yes,
It's
I love
I
it.
you have you have it? Yes, you do. I remember personalizing it for you.
I feel like people are probably going to ask, am I an ambassador? I'm like, no, I just bought it myself and I love it.
You have a couple of different micromotor engravers.
Just
So
two, just this
yeah.
one and the thumb, because I didn't know about this. I didn't know. Well, you just launched this like a month ago.
Well, the yeah. Um, so, and I have mine here. And Carla, I just noticed you haven't angled your pin holder.
Because
Uh,
I was
so
putting it back in the box. So
gotcha.
yeah, but
Just some people don't notice that you can do that, so
yeah,
that it actually
it's actually
stays.
funny because I angled it and then my husband put it back. I'm like, honey, point was I could put it back that way, but
Right. So yeah, what happened, I mean, I don't think it needs to be said. It's not like I'm an electrical engineer, right? I didn't invent this thing. I don't think that needs to be said, but just in case. Um, uh, Similar to what I did with the stir, what I wanted to find was I wanted to find the tool that I would use myself. And
right.
I have the thumb, and I've been using the thumb since 2018, and it's a good machine. Nothing wrong with it. But I wanted to, I think the biggest thing that I found wrong, so to speak, was that every time I posted anything about engraving on Instagram, I immediately got just flooded with questions. What tool do you use? What should I buy? Kind of overwhelming, like so many people, that it's like, I don't have time in my day to answer all of this all the time. But and yet at the same time, I can't stand it, not answering people, because I just think that's so rude. So, but I saw this real kind of hole, because two things. One is that there's nobody, even the thumb, out there who was saying this is what you use for calligraphy engraving.
Yeah.
The thumb is sold by Treeline in the United States. It's made by Seishin in Korea, but it's sold by Treeline, and Treeline is more of a woodworking
It is. Yeah.
website, right? And so why would you, as a calligrapher, go to a woodworking website, for
Mhm.
example? And then, so that was one thing I saw, was just this need to say, hey, this is what you use to do calligraphy engraving. And that's marketing, is what that is, right? And then the other aspect I saw was that people didn't know what else to buy, because if you buy, you can't just buy the
That's
drill.
no, you need the
You have
purpose.
to know not only which bits to use, but then you have to know, well, what do you need to close that gap between the bits and the collet on your handpiece? You know, do you need a reducer? Do you not need a reducer? What? And if you simply buy the engraver and you get it, you won't be able to use it,
Yeah.
right?
No, I
And
mean,
I think you
that was exactly
experienced
me.
that. What?
That was exactly me when I got the thumb.
Right. So you spend all this money and you buy this expensive tool and it comes in the mail and you still can't use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because because so because I think, like you said, it's a woodworking website, so it's not like collated enough to do this stuff. And also, like, most of us don't know what the difference is between like all these different size of burrs
Yeah.
fits in this. It doesn't actually say anywhere where what fits, I think, or um and that, yeah, which one would need a reducer. So maybe we step back a little bit. Someone was asking, what does the engraver do actually, this micro engraver, because I think it's not meant to be a calligraphy tool, right?
Well, so this one is actually the one that I'm partnering with RAM, and they are actually a dental company. So
Okay.
they make tools for the dental industry. So this, you know, this is designed for dentists to use. You know, when you go to the dentist and they're drilling your teeth but there's also a different type of handpiece um, that dentists use that have like the little head on it right? So, but the motor part is the same.
Yes.
So, so um, I'm losing my like flow here because we're jumping around.
Sorry.
Um, that's okay. I'm just feeling a little scatterbrained with where to go with this to get it on in a more cohesive track. So it's you can use this tool to engrave on metal, ceramic, stone, glass, plastics. Some work better than some plastics are better than others. Some wood. Um, and it permanently etches because it is a rotary tool. So it has, you insert a bit, and there are different kinds. I prefer the ball tip. There's different shapes, and they have a coating of diamond bit on them, and it spins at a very high RPM, and you're actually etching into the surface of the material. So it's completely permanent. Whereas if you use acrylic permanent inks or paint pens
Yeah, it's like,
on those surfaces, you know, they'll last okay, but they will scratch off, or you know, they're not completely permanent.
I'll take it off.
Right. So that's what you can do with it. There is a on the listing for the engraver, there's I made a video where I walk people through everything that's included with it. So what I wanted to do differently is set up an engraver with all of the things you need
Yeah,
to be able to get the box, open it, and use it immediately.
absolutely.
And then you can go from there, and you will need to get more burrs eventually,
Hmm.
just like we have to get more calligraphy nibs.
Yeah.
Um, but at least you'll have some and you can try them. I include 2 different sizes so you can see which one you end up using more and you need to buy more of, for example. And then it includes the collet reducer already so that you can right out of the box fit those burrs in there, get started, and there's two different sizes of burrs that you can, I mean, not the tip, there's many sizes of the tip, but in terms of the shaft, there's two different sizes that will fit in the engraver with what you have included, whether or not you use the collet reducer.
Okay, so you
Again,
can fit those two. Is it the 1/16 and the 1/32 or something?
332. So without the reducer, you can fit burrs in that have a shaft of 3/32 of an inch. And then if you use the little sleeve reducer, you put that in, then you can use the burrs that have a 1/16 inch diameter shaft.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the video on the listing walks through all of that in detail. So I don't know that
I'll post a video on there. And I remember you sent a newsletter not too long ago sharing about your like little engraving guide of like tools and all that, like the details and that, because I read it and that's why I bought it. Because I'm like, okay, I'll just need to go get stuff from Kestrel.
Well, specifically about the engraver, on the engraver listing, there's detail about this particular machine, what is good about it, and the difference between it and the thumb as an example.
Yeah.
But then also, I think, I'm not sure if you're talking about that or if you're talking about on my website, I also have a free PDF download that's just different resources, supply recommendations and resources for engraving. And in that PDF, if you can just download it for free, that explains more about burrs and where I buy things and other supplies that are useful to have. Some of them just household items like Q-tips and paper towels.
Yeah. I am going to just link that up on our Facebook Live here so people can check it out. And someone was also asking, why can't they just use a Dremel?
Oh, you can. It's just very difficult. So I think that people who try calligraphy engraving with a Dremel first get a very skewed experience. Maybe you have a Dremel in the garage.
My husband does.
Or your husband or somebody that has one, and you try it. It's very large to hold on to. It vibrates a lot more. The hand piece is big and bulky compared to this, and so because it's so big, it's weighting itself down this way, which you're fighting against. It's just very hard to do, and the tool is working against you. So nothing wrong with giving it a try, but I think that mostly keep in mind that don't relate that experience to what it would be like to engrave by hand with a tool that's much more user-friendly for the job.
Absolutely. I mean, Talisa was just saying how the Dremel tired her out really fast.
Right. And it's more difficult to control. So your engraving quality is not going to be what you would be able to accomplish with a more user-friendly drill. So I would just encourage you to, if you have one laying around, fine, give it a try, but I wouldn't go out and buy one. It's just really hard to use.
But I think like a lot of people, so when I asked people to RSVP, I asked them a question about, do you have any questions about engraving? And one of them was actually about this, where it seems like the investment for calligraphy engraving is rather high, right? Like in comparison to buying a pen and ink, so because it's, like there's $300 plus a couple of different things. But I responded to them, it is an investment, but it's a good one versus like buying, a 90, like I think like a Dremel can be like less than $50 even. But not have a good experience with it, not be able to do business with it, or not be able to actually produce things with it, then you
Right.
won't be able to get your money back.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like anything else, you
Yeah.
know. I personally prefer to wait until I can get the right tool
Yeah.
for what I want to do versus spending money twice and in the long run spending more money because I didn't just get the right thing the first time. So if I can't afford it now, I'd rather wait
Yeah. Save
a
up.
little while until I can. That's just how I, in general, about other
Yeah.
things too, would rather operate.
Yeah. Kathy was just agreeing that the Dremel was really, really hard to work with. Um, Christine Herrera was asking about which burr to use. I know you've talked about the different shafts, but how about like the tips? Like the tip.
Well, for most of what we're going to be doing in this industry, the diamond bit
Mm-hmm.
burrs, and then they come in different shapes and sizes. So just like with nibs and coming in different flexibilities and different tip sharpnesses, there's that kind of difference with burrs. So some of it is experimenting a little bit and
Yeah.
finding what you personally prefer. Some calligraphy engravers like other shapes, but most people that I see, including myself, prefer the ball tip burrs. So the tip of the is actually a round
Yeah.
sphere.
I have the .5 one, and I've been loving it because
Mhm.
I'm able to engrave so tiny.
And I think that's the 0.8, yeah,
Is
zero
it?
point 0.8 millimeter diameter ball.
Oh yeah. See, you can even tell just from Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. No, let me see that again. Oh, that's bigger. That's 1.5.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, 0.8 are really tiny. So I include the 0.8 and the 1.5 in with the engraver so you can try both. And I use both because depending on how large the
Sorry.
space is, you know, if you're doing a wine bottle versus a perfume bottle, or how much writing you need to fit on it, because I'll use both sizes on perfume bottles also. Just if I'm doing just a name and date, or if I'm writing a whole phrase.
Yeah.
So, you know, you pick depending on what you need to fit. So, and then again, in the PDF download, I explain more about the different coarsenesses and the different ways that they're made and where to get them. I do have a couple of options on my website that I offer because Amazon, you can get them for cheaper on eBay than on Amazon, but when you buy them on eBay, it usually takes about a month for them to come. So I'm kind of trying to offer that middle ground where I'm offering them cheaper than Amazon, but I'm here shipping them here from in the US. So getting them to people a lot faster. But all those are all options for purchasing the birds.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just got them from you instead because I'm in like this one place and I know these are the right ones because you've used them.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm definitely not the only place to get them, but I'm trying to offer a good price and speedy delivery option. So,
Yes. But
but the PDF also includes other places.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that on the link, but I just got them from you because, like I said, sometimes with the Amazon things, it's just like you're not entirely sure if this one is going to fit or whatever. So it's nice to be
Right.
in one place.
Well,
Um,
they're a little more expensive. Like I said, they're more expensive on Amazon. And then if you buy them on eBay, they're shipping from mostly from China.
yeah,
So it just takes a long time to get them.
especially right now, everything is a lot slower.
Yeah, yeah. So I get them from the manufacturers in China. Most of the burrs are made in China. They're kind of there are some burrs made in Europe and there are some burrs made in Korea, but China is definitely the main manufacturing location for the burrs. And so I'm buying them in, you know, mass quantity, like 20,000 burrs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
So then I can just know, okay, they're here. I already waited a month and a half for them to come. And I have them for a while
Yeah.
to help get them out to other people faster. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Maria and Jen were asking here about engraving on non-flat surfaces, like, you know, like for perfume, sometimes they're round or.
Yeah. You know, I think the most important thing is to have a pillow, because so just go on Amazon and Google or Amazon search for micro bead pillow. And here, I have my small one. I have two different sizes. So this is a really small one, and then I have a larger one. So this is about 8 inches by 3 inches, and my large one is about 8 inches by 12, 14 inches. Anyway, what the pillow does for you is those, my little hairspray that I keep with my calligraphy stuff, you know, non-flat surfaces, round surfaces, you just sink it into the pillow, you know, push it down into the pillow. And now you have your hand can be level with the surface of the item. So it gives you that stability. And also you're not trying to fight with keeping the bottle from rolling weird on the table while you're trying to write on it. So I think that for the abnormal shaped surfaces, a pillow is your best friend and will make all the difference in the world for you if you're trying to do it without that assistance. You know, it both holds the item still, and it gives you that hand stability to rest your hand while you're engraving.
I also think that the pillow helps absorb the sound.
Right, right, because you're not, the vibration of the, you know, the engraver itself is very quiet. See, I'll turn it on right now.
Yeah, it's quiet.
You know, you can hear it a little bit, but but it's pretty quiet. The sound is the sound of the actual material that you're engraving, and if that sound is reverberating through the dense table that you're working on, then yeah, it's going to amplify it more, just like putting your phone on the table while you're listening to something versus versus putting it on a pillow.
Yeah, no, totally. Because I think I've seen it somewhere where people have like a little holder or something that holds the like the perfume bottle, but I would imagine that would be like that would probably vibrate.
I haven't seen anybody with an actual little holder. I think that would be a little difficult just because they come in so many sizes and shapes. Even working an event for a single brand, within that brand, there's going to be a lot of different shapes and sizes of bottles that they offer their different scents in.
Yeah, no, totally. Um, a lot of people actually asked this question, but I'm just going to name one of them, Amanda, which was the ideal surfaces for writing. I know you kind of touched on it a little bit a while ago, but do you want to talk through those surfaces?
Ideal surfaces, that's a little bit of an opinion. So freehand engraving with a rotary drill, such as this, such as these micromotors that we've talked about, will work very well on glass, crystal, metal, whether it's coated metal or uncoated metal. And I've engraved on all different kinds of metal. I've engraved on 14 karat gold, sterling silver, stainless steel. You can, if you're engraving on a coated metal, then what you're doing is really just engraving through that layer of coating to reveal the metal underneath. And then plastics, you know, there's different types of plastics, different densities of plastic. Some of them will chew up a lot more, but the trick with plastic is to use a very, very low RPM. And I'm talking like 4,000, 5,000 RPM versus with glass and metal, you're typically going to be up in the 30, 35,000 RPM. Ceramic works well, and with ceramic, again, you're removing like the glazed outer layer of the ceramic and revealing the porous underneath. And stone, whether it's agate slices or slate, different types of stone have different densities. Agate is a much denser stone than slate, so it's going to feel different when you engrave, whether how easily it's going and how much it's going to burr into the surface. What else? Wood as well. Wood, just like stone, wood is also a natural product. It has a ton of variation because nature is not uniform. So depending on the type of wood, there's the density of it, how hard is the wood, how smooth is it finished or unfinished? So wood, really, the answer is like, it depends.
Yeah, most of the materials are, except for glass and metal and ceramic, because everything else, it does have a bit more, like plastic, for example, you really have to test it. If the plastics, you kind of
Right.
tinker around with the speed a little bit, right? Like,
Well, and there's a difference. It just like I said, different plastics, depending on their chemical formula and how they're made, are going to be different densities and therefore going to react differently or feel different, engrave differently. So glass and metal are the most consistent, the most reliable, we could say, but you're not limited to those surfaces by any means.
yeah. I haven't really tried it on wood as much because of yeah, I did try it a couple of times, but I haven't found like the sweet spot to it. I feel it's kind of similar to plastic a little bit, where because it's less dense in material wise.
Well, so it's not going to show as well on all woods
Yeah.
is really the reality. With wood, sometimes wood burning or laser
Wood
engraving
burning is
is going
better.
to be a much better
Yeah.
option than freehand engraving. I think that with wood, in general, what's going to work the best if you want to use the freehand engraver is if the wood is very smooth and it has a finish to it. So maybe it's stained, and then when you engrave, you're removing that stained layer and exposing the unstained wood, and then that's going to give the color contrast so that the engraving is visible,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I would imagine too, that yeah, it really depends on the wood itself, on how smooth it would be. Because if you had it was like an MDF, for example, it probably won't work well.
Well, if it's a coated MDF,
Oh yeah, and then you'll peel off the
or a painted MDF, then yeah, it would work well because you would engrave through that painted layer and expose
mm,
the wood.
I should try that because I've only tried it with unfinished wood. There's a couple of people that were mentioning that for going up, like upstrokes on engraving is it's a bit wiggly. Do you find that being a thing?
Right. So what you have to think about is the rotation of the burr. So when the burr is rotating and you're moving up in that same direction, it's going to want to pull. That rotation of the burr is going to also want to pull. And so that can kind of get away from you.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's
Right.
different.
And with calligraphy, we're so mentally trained to have a light hand on those upstrokes.
Yeah.
Right. And to like be super gentle and soft in our touch on those upstrokes. And with engraving, you have to keep in mind that on those upstrokes, you do need to put a little more resistance in your hand so that the burr isn't
Running
pulling
away from you.
away from you. So try that. Try kind of, and then also with engraving though, keep in mind that you can rotate the item that you're engraving. So if you're adding a flourish and it's this big long sweeping thing and you don't need to go in that direction,
Yeah.
just spin the item around and
Do it the other
do
way.
that do that pulling it towards yourself instead.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, because I actually haven't noticed it quite much because I am not like engraving all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know that it needs a lot more control.
Mm-hmm.
It's not less like sweeping motion, you know, you
Right.
have to like,
Well, when we write with a calligraphy pen, nothing is moving. There's
yeah,
no moving parts.
yes, our nibs are not shaking.
Our hand is the only thing creating that motion. When we're engraving, I mean, we're using a power tool.
Yeah, we are.
So, you know, it is going to be different how you control it, how you hold it.
Yeah, cool. Um, how about filling? I know
Uh-huh.
you mentioned rub and buff before.
Right. So rub and buff is kind of like the most famous, the
Yeah.
best known type of color fill to use, and it does work really well. Some people have a very hard time finding it in other countries. So I am, you know, I'm getting ready to film an online course on engraving. So part of what I've been doing to prepare for that is I've been putting together all different products that you can use for color fill, because while rub and buff is kind of the most well known, it's certainly not the only option.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and I've been experimenting with a lot of things to try them out. I have found another brand that I really like, and it comes in lots of other colors
Okay.
aside from, because rub and buff comes in a very limited amount
Yeah,
of
it's
colors.
almost metallic.
It comes in a handful of different gold tones and silver and black. It used to come in white. If you find any
I can't
white,
find it.
they have not, they don't make it anymore.
Oh, that's why.
They stopped manufacturing the white. I talked to them on the phone the other day. It's made by Amico. Rub and Buff is made. So I talked to them the other day. And then I also found, I also figured out a way to kind of make your own rub and buff, which would mean unlimited colors, or I shouldn't say rub and buff, make your own fill,
Yeah.
color fill. So that will be a module, a unit of the online course where I'll share all of that. I'm not trying to be all weird and seclusive about it
No,
right
that's
now.
all good.
I'm just not ready to, because the one, for example, where you make your own, I need to show like, okay, mix these products and this together, and here's how it works. So that there, just want to put it out there. There are other options.
Yeah, cool.
Especially, I'm hoping that maybe this way that I am coming up with making your own might make it more readily doable for people in locations where they can't get rub and buff.
Especially right now, it seems like, because you know, in the States we have lots of, but internationally, it's harder to get.
Yeah. And I might, that is one that's actually, I've been thinking about, once the filming is complete of the online course, I might put that module out there separate as like a preview.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So you guys, if you're interested, make sure you watch out when Kestrel launches her online course in engraving, because that would be such a good.
Yeah, and I have the videographer lined up. I have a lot of stuff ready for it. The course outline is ready. Thank you everybody who gave input for that. I've put it out there on Instagram a couple of times saying, hey, what do you want me to make sure to include, just so I don't accidentally forget something. And people have, people have replied a lot, so that's great. And the videographer is still scheduled to come Wednesday and Thursday of this coming week. I'm contemplating what to do about that at this moment with the current
I
situation.
know, right?
So, because we have been, on lockdown since Sunday. And so there might be some delay, but if you go to inkmethis.com, and at the bottom of the home page, you can join my mailing list, and I'll keep people updated on the progress of, when the course is going to launch and when you can register for it, and the like. So, and then I send out other things as well. So, like, for example, last night I made, I try to put out a lot of free resources as well. So I do have a whole free section on inkmethis.com of downloads. And I just made one last night that I'm going to add as well. So they are exemplar sheets that you can download. So there's 3 different variations of it. I'll just show you one. So see if you can see it well enough. But it's where you make your own exemplar of your current writing level. So there's a box for each letter of the alphabet, majuscules, and then a couple of empty ones if you want to have a space to show maybe you have 2 different variations of a letter that you really like. And then it goes through the minuscules, and same thing, a few extra spaces that could be either for variations or for foreign language characters, extra space, and then the numbers 1 through 0. And then you put your name, your date, and any notes you want to add. And it serves as a record of, like, this is where I am right now.
Yeah. No, I actually just made something like that too. It's really cool. It's
so I'm gonna throw those up. I'll email them out to my email list, and I'll throw them up. They'll just be free downloads, and you can have fun with them. So I made them in a couple of different X heights and a couple different slant lines, and then I also made one that doesn't have any slant, so you can adjust for your own. Anyway, so I also try to send stuff like that out to my email list.
Yeah, no, I've been part of your email list. Love it. Love being part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, it's a nice thing to see in an email versus, like, right now I've just been flooded nonstop with all this, like, I don't know how many emails have you received this past week that just says, we are doing our best.
Yeah, it's like the same message.
I know.
So I have not sent one of those out, because I figure that,
everyone else already got one of those.
Be the 500th person that sends you one. And you had told me that you wanted to ask how that's affecting us.
Yes.
I feel like we're super fortunate in that we work from home anyway. We have been working from home full time, both of us, since 2014, 2015. And so we're still here doing what we have always done. We're still sending out daily shipments, and so for us on a business level, it hasn't changed a whole lot. I will say, for probably the biggest difference, I feel fortunate I don't have any events right now, wedding invitation design clients that are trying to get married right now. My current brides are all like September, October weddings. So that's nice.
Because they were this month.
I do know, I have a letterpress printer friend, Fiore Press, that I work with closely. She is offering for free to add an insert to her clients' invitations, that basically just an extra insert that says, keep an eye on our website for possible changes, so that the couple doesn't have the expense of printing all new invitations if the date changes.
Yeah.
But I have had live event engraving cancellations for sure. Um,
Absolutely. Right now, I think
and,
that's the
but
thing.
then I've been doing a lot of private lessons. I do private lessons via Zoom anyway, so usually I'm not teaching students that are here local for that. So that has continued, and if anybody wants to fill some extra time, you can check out how that works. There's a learn section on inkmethis.com, and I what's great about private lessons is that it's really gears to the time to exactly what you want to focus on,
Yes.
whether it is focusing on beginning or more advanced level calligraphy or business aspects, trying to learn to how you deal with getting yourself out there, and do you need a contract, and all that fun business stuff. So you can check that out if this see this a benefit of this current situation, if I can put it that way, is I think that if we try to see a benefit and make use of the time, there's a lot that we don't get to in our day-to-day life, with busyness and deadlines right in front of us all the time. And I would encourage people to try to take advantage of this time to get to all those things on your list that you've been wanting to do for a long time, but you just never seem to get to them.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do with the time. I have more digital fonts I've been wanting to make. I have digital worksheets I've been wanting to make, and I'm just going to try to get those out there.
Absolutely. I have just this one last question here.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer it, but it's about pricing an engraving project. For example, a wine bottle with a greeting or a floral illustration filled with color.
So I'm going to say a couple of generic things first, that would apply to any pricing
Mhm.
question. One is, you need to make sure that at the end of the day, it's worth it,
Your time. Yeah.
worth your time. There is a difference between doing something as a hobby because you love it and doing something as a business for profit. And you really need to keep that distinction in your head. And I think that a lot of people with calligraphy and engraving, and I'm sure other kind of, artistic realms, sometimes forget that distinction because we're doing what we love to do.
Right.
So if you are making something for a friend, you're doing something for a family member, then that can fall in the free zone and you're doing it because you love it, right? Once you're doing it for a client for money, then you really need to make sure that it's worth your time. And what you need to keep in mind and keep assessing is, what hourly rate are you making at the end? When you finish this project, what have you paid yourself hourly? And you want to make sure that you're not making, you know, teenage hourly unskilled
Minimum
labor
wage.
rate, right?
Yeah.
So what we are doing with calligraphy, and then even more so with engraving, just because of the cost of and the specialized equipment needed, is we're offering a service that not everybody can do, that takes years of practice to improve to that level, certainly months, and then we'll keep getting better for years. And we had to get specialized equipment to do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, think about the other industries that are similar. They require skill, training. Not everybody can do them. Specialized equipment. And you know, think in your area where you live, what do those people make? What does a professional hairdresser charge per hour? Not, again, not going to Supercuts for a $15 haircut. But if you go to a professional stylist that's renting their own station and working as an independent contractor type model of business owner, you know, I know that the gal that's been cutting my hair for 20 years charges like $100 an hour if she's doing a color job, for example, right? What is a handyman or a plumber or you know, those that require skill, training, and specialized equipment? What are those people in your community charging per hour? And that's going to be different based on where you live, right? So, and then charge at that level for your hourly time. For me here in the Bay Area, that means like when I go do on site, it's $125 to $150 an hour. If I'm doing work out of my home and I don't need to travel and I don't need to go anywhere and I can mold my day as I, you know, there's those perks, then I make sure to pay myself at least $80 an hour. So what that usually translates into when it comes to if it's more of a per item price, if I'm sent a pair of wine glasses, it'd be about $25 per glass, or a vase, $25 for a couple names and a date. If they want a lengthy text, a whole quote, then I'm going to need to assess that amount of writing.
And also possibly the time that you've been communicating with them, right? Like,
right. So you need to build, you know, kind of mentally build that in as well. And then of course, you know, if somebody asks you to do a bulk quantity order, then you're going to adjust that. So maybe instead of $25 for a wine glass, you know, that you're doing a small order. If you're doing bulk, you might bring that down to 18. You might even go down to 12 if there's a lot of them. So, but bottom line is, at the end of the day, you need to make sure you're making a good hourly wage. And you also have to keep in mind that you're not making that full amount.
No, you're paying for materials.
You're also, what was that?
You may have to pay for like your equipment and other materials like your burrs and stuff like that, right? Like,
right. But then you also have to keep in mind that as an independent contractor, you need to pay income taxes on that money.
Oh yeah.
And depending on your tax bracket and your taxes, I mean, for us, with being business owners, and we have to also make the Social Security contribution on our own and all of that, you know, about almost 50% is going to income taxes.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to work for $40 an hour, because at the end of the day, that's really $20 an hour before I even take off for materials.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, you know,
and before I even factor in the time I've spent emailing or setting up or anything. So if I charge like that, and then, you know, I might as well just go get a job at a grocery store, or whatever, you know, I would probably make more and get health insurance. So, you know, and health insurance, that's another thing, you know, you have to keep in mind all of those costs when you're doing this as a business professionally. You have to think about all that. So I am going to also have a whole professional level of the course that you can, you know, opt into if you choose, that'll talk about pricing, some of what I just said, and then also, you know, get more in depth on things and other aspects of doing this professionally as a business.
Awesome. I'm so excited for that. I know everyone else is probably excited for that too, because we've got a lot of people that joined us today for the live, and I just wanted to thank you so much, Kestrel, for spending that time with us today.
Sure. Sorry, it was a little rocky getting started there.
Don't worry about it. We were early, so people were probably shocked we were already on.
Yeah, hopefully either people weren't on yet or they just skip forward if they
Yeah, don't worry. The recording I will send you will not have that part.
Yeah, edit all of that out, please. I don't see a link anywhere.
I know it's so hard because it's there's no way that I can go live and then like send you the link unless I've already gone live. So I need to find a better way to do this. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Well, thank you. And I hope that was helpful and not completely boring. I feel like I kept jumping a little bit from topic to topic, but
no, well, we had
so much to talk about.
Yeah,
and then I get excited and I birdwalk.
But yeah, it was so good, and I mean, I learned a lot. I hope you guys did too. This was so fun to hang out, especially everyone's stuck at home anyway, so might as well learn something, right? So
yeah, it's hard when you're not used to working from home.
I think I work from home a lot, but I think there's still that element of I can't do certain things as easily right now. I can't just like, okay, I have to actually think about, okay, I need to go and if I need to go out, I need to like kind of push my schedule in a bit and do all of that at once, so that I'm not doing certain things. It's just so there is a bit of an adjustment aside from the fact that I'm already working from home all the time. So
right. No, I have definitely noticed the difference as well. But what I would put out there to people who aren't used to it and it's been a big shift. I think the number one thing I would say is still get up, get dressed,
yes,
do your hair a little bit, put a little bit of makeup on, and because that will mentally shift you into a productive mode versus a comfy, cozy, loungy mode. So that was something that I really learned helped a lot when I started working from home full time.
Yeah, still do the schedule. If you have kids, like do the schedule that they do at school helps too.
I wouldn't be very good at that. But even though my career, I was a teacher. But anyway, anyhow, I wish everybody the best, and please stay in touch and check out InkMeThis.com, and I'm going to be putting up more downloadable things. In fact, that one that I'll be adding today. Go ahead, check out the free section. There's a lot there.
Yep. I mean,
have a great day.
I'm a big fan of that. So thank you so much.
All right.
See you guys next time. Bye.